first of all, I'm very glad that you wanted to join this session. My name is Marloes Pomp. I work at the Netherlands AI Coalition, and this is my colleague Jeanette at the European AI Forum. She will talk more about that. I was briefed by the World Summit AI that I had to moderate a panel, but here I see it's a workshop, which means you will have to work, and it makes my job much easier. So we will make an interactive session of this, and usually I start with an introduction round of the panel, but you're watching your mobile, so I will ask you to introduce yourself very briefly.
Myself and not the panel?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, that's easy. Okay. My name is Merdad. I'm head of the data science chapter at the Volvo Group. The key thing is that it's Volvo Group, not Volvo Cars. So everything with a Volvo brand, that is not a private or personal car.
Okay, interesting. I will come back to you. But let's continue with the panel. Jeanette, can you introduce yourself and then hand over the microphone? Oh, no, you have a microphone. Oh.
Yes, so thank you very much. Happy to be here. Jeanette Gazzala. I'm together Vice President with Marloes at the European AI Forum. The European AI Forum is the umbrella association of the national European AI associations. So we start, of course, from the Netherlands, but including Germany, France, Austria, but also Lithuania, all the way back to Bulgaria, Croatia, Slovenia. So we're quite spread out across Europe, represent more than 2,000 AI entrepreneurs based in Europe. And yes, our aim is to make Europe a better place for AI and to increase the possibilities in the European AI ecosystem. Handing on to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Huub Jansen. I work at the Rijksinspectie Digitale Infrastructuur, the Dutch competent authority for the digital infrastructure. So we're a supervisory authority. And I'm also the chair of the Dutch working group of all the competent authorities supervising AI and of the European working group of competent authorities supervising AI, which is, we're already doing that for 3 years because already in the last 3 years we supervise AI. So it's not just based on the AI Act, it's also just AI under current legislation, GDPR, NIS, medical device regulation, whatever. And we think it's very important that we see supervision as part of the creating a proper trusted ecosystem for AI. That's why we work a lot together with the industry to make this world a better place.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm a colleague of Huub. I think it's funny that we aligned actually underneath our pictures. It makes it easier for you guys.
Aligning.
Alignment, yeah, AI and alignment is a new meaning nowadays. But Meindert Kamphuis, as you can read up there, as I said, a colleague, also in the authority. I always call myself the authority. That's easier for everybody to remember. I work on the 2 projects, main projects. One of them is a TSI from the European Union. That's a technical support instrument where UNESCO is helping us with supervision. And we hope that we can, with everything that we learn, we can help other member states in Europe and maybe even beyond that. The other project I'm leading is the sandboxes, which is part of the innovation part of the AI Act. But you might notice later in the discussion, I'm also maybe against it. But that's hinting.
Okay, let's start with the first question. I would like.
Moderator?
Yeah.
I really liked how you started it. Can you maybe ask another person for an introduction here?
Yes, I will. One moment.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm the moderator. You have to follow. No more interventions. Okay, I have the first question for the audience. How scared are you for the AI Act? And you can raise your hands. You have 10 fingers. And when you have 0 fingers, you're not scared. When you have 10 fingers, you're a bit scared. So not about AI itself, but about the AI Act. Raise your fingers. Okay, keep them. Oh. Okay, can I ask you to sit here? And can I ask you to sit over there? Okay, let me start. Why are you not scared at all?
Okay, let me tell you. Yes, that's what
thank you.
I was trying to start. My name is Mark Vrijhoff. I'm GDPR specialist, so I'm aware of the impact of legislation on the industry, and as such, I'm not really scared about the impact the AI or the AI Act will have, because it will become a gradual process. The same as with the GDPR, it will take time. I think there is nobody here who will say, well, we don't need an AI Act. Yes, there is regulation is necessary, and I walk into many companies trying to help them become GDPR compliant. And when you ask me what percentage do you think is compliant, I will have two hands, and that will be enough.
Push it all the way.
So I'm not scared of the AI Act at all. I think it's actually amazing, because the AI Act is a fluffy 100, 200-page legislation, right? And with a legal background, I read that once a week, and I think it's very easy written. Actually, it's a nice structure they put in place. Also, it fits like a nice puzzle, connecting many legislations we already have, connecting the GDPR, connecting sector legislation, for example. So I think it fits right in as a horizontal layer. On the one side, digitally, right, with the data space and everything, and also kind of like if you go right down to the industry vectors, because you will see they look at every industry different, they try to bake it in. So I really think it's a nice fitting piece of legislation, and I'm not scared and happy to have it.
Okay, then we will continue. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Dean. I'm from the Breda University of Applied Sciences. We've recently started a degree program in applied data science and artificial intelligence, and I'm part of setting that up and building it out. I think there's a few reasons for fear around the AI Act, and
Show the fear. Show the fear.
so part of that is maybe it's very easy to break down and understand as someone with a legal background, and to digest that. So that's very easy for someone who's a bit more technical. And
Easy talking, huh? Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
for someone that's a bit more technical, and I think this challenge of translation of information goes both ways. Practical technical requirements going to legislation, and legislation that can be practically applied in a way that makes sense for people who are actually doing the work and working with these tools. And then another thing is there's a fear of overregulation. And overregulation will stifle a lot of the innovation that is possible. Sure, there needs to be checks and balances in place, but these need to be well thought out and practical. I think those are the main reasons, yeah.
No,
Thank you, Meindert.
there's more.
Can you help him?
And there's a whole gap even. Then we have this law where, as you said, it's not easily to understand. We have legal people. We need legal advice even within our organization to fine tune, like, what does this actually mean? Like, there's no clear way to understand these rules. And then we need some years later, there will be standards. Are we waiting for the standards? What do we do in between? There's like a big gap in between. There's like an open space, one big black hole we're dumping in here. So yeah, thank you for finally pointing this out.
Okay. Huub, which team has the best arguments, and how to build a bridge between those teams?
The funny thing is,
No, first, who's the winning
Funny
team?
things.
well, they're both true at the same time.
Ah, no. That's too easy. Yes.
way it is.
He will continue.
Yeah.
I think I've got an example of AI regulation before it was cool. So there's the EU AI Act, but I did some work with a company in the States who was designing a computer vision-based drone detect and avoid system called Iris Automation. And it was a very innovative system. There was no one else on the market that was doing detect and avoid with computer vision, especially in a small compact package that could be put onto a drone. the big challenge they faced is because there were no regulation, but the regulators were saying we're going to regulate this. That stifled a lot of the growth of that company purely because of the uncertainty in the space. Where companies were like, cool, we're not going to buy a system now, we're going to see what the regulators say. Do we need this? Do we not need it?
Horrible regulators, I agree. Yeah. Oh, you should definitely...
Huub, now it's up to you.
Sorry. So when you weigh the argument, it will take years. We all have to grow into it, and at the same time, it will be necessary, because the only thing the law does protects people on a collective level against the things you don't want. You don't want to be manipulated. You don't want to be abused by big tech or whatever. So there's a lot of reasons why you need the regulation. The fear is, if you have to
fear is the
comply
good
now,
part, right? That's what you're trying to say, right? Yeah.
He's closer to me, right? So.
Yeah.
So it's true, if you think you have to comply now, even though regulation and especially standardization and certification is not in place, you can fear it. At the same time, you know it will take time, but it doesn't mean you have to not to wait until it. You can just start, because the main things that you have to do, you have to comply with, are quite normal things. It's just, if you want ethical AI, you're already going to do the right thing. So the only thing the AI Act does is a kind of minimum requirements to have a kind of level playing field, so you're not being put out of the market by that you're forced to make lousy, abusive AI in order to stay in the market. So given the fact, I understand your fears, but given the fact that there will be time to slowly adapt to those standards. Standards are never consistent or never stable.
I agree,
they always
they're never
evolve.
consistent.
So I think you should be worried to some extent. So you are going to do something, and at the same time, just do it. I mean, don't fear it too much that you're not going to do anything.
Okay. No, sorry, sorry, we will run out of time. I would like to thank you. We need to the other people at work as well. Thank you so much. A more simple question. The AI Act is very clear to me. Raise your hands if it's yes. So it's no. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, okay. No, that's good to know. You have to explain more during the discussion. Then I would like to, we will talk about the AI Act more, but let's start with a very practical element, the sandboxes. Can you briefly explain what the sandboxes are? You are preparing the sandboxes.
Yeah, I'm just thinking with my role in here, but
yeah, I will make it hard for you. Yeah, yeah.
The sandboxes is a legislative framework, and as I said, like before, there's the legal person sitting here. So anything I say wrong, I will definitely be corrected right here. No, we're starting this. It's recently, we started this year, I think, on the sandboxes. Just looking what should it be, like how do we fill in? It fits within the innovation framework, and why I'm keeping this very vague is because I thought I was against the sandboxes, but for now it is also my project. It's a little bit difficult, but it's a place where we help you navigate the AI Act legislation.
And what is the benefit for an organization to?
If you're a large organization, you have your legal help. That's very easy. You just tell your people, okay, is this legal? Is this allowed? Is it not allowed? If you're a small startup, this might not. You don't have a legal department.
Yeah.
And also for us as the authority, the supervisors, we also need to learn actually what the sandbox, like what the AI Act.
Oh, okay, it's not only unclear for you, it's also unclear for you. Okay. Well, then my next question is: if would your organization be interested in joining a sandbox? If yes, raise your hand. Yes, then I would like to invite you to sit over there. And who's over there?
Yeah, that's why I was
Who is completely against sandboxes? Yeah, now nobody dares to sit here. Okay,
who would not join?
Yeah, please come over. Thank you. I will start with you. Can you introduce yourself and why would you like to join a sandbox? Or what is the benefit of a sandbox?
And my name is Joop Snijder. I'm head of Research Center AI at InfoSupport. We're a software company, but also specialize in making custom machine learning models. And I think we have a lot of customers who can benefit from sandboxes. So they know they have a safe system, not only for themselves, but also for the public.
Okay, thank you. Jeanette, what's your opinion on sandboxes?
I mean, I fully support that. And I think it's super, super important that you have the possibility as a small startup, as an SME that doesn't have thousands of lawyers parked outside of your company or maybe inside in the basement, I don't know, that kind of like translate the AI Act to be able also to work in this field. And I think you need guidance, you need support, and it's hard to pay a lawyer fee of, I don't know, 500 per hour, right? Because you need to read the Act, you need to explain. It's a lot of cost, a lot of burden, a lot of compliance. And as a small startup team, you might not able to be kind of like to do this, right? So that's why I think we need the startup, the sandbox as a guidance for the startup. And also you might want to experiment, right? You go inside with an idea, with a technology, with a use case. You might need to pivot. You know, the market is never the same. And there you have a safe environment with the regulator as your sparring partner. You can be transparent. You can build good relations with the regulator, and you can build your product there, yes? And in a very, very nice case, because we do not know how these sandboxes will then at the end turn out, but maybe you even have a conformity of a compliance, or you can demonstrate even a track record and say, okay, we went to the sandbox with the regulator, it creates trust and it helps you. And this, I think, is very important because look at the European ecosystem of AI, right? We do not have open AI made in Europe. So we need to support the infrastructure, the ecosystem, and maybe we will have this in the future if we let our entrepreneurs do what they can do best. Innovate, create great solutions, found the startups, make them into scale-ups and go global, right? So I think we definitely need those sandboxes.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Jeremy Darrow. I'm the head of AI in the Scottish Government. So I'm a government official, but this is just my personal views. It's not official position. I actually think there are benefits, but I think they're mostly for the regulator. I think the two fundamental flaws are if we have a good regulatory system, then shouldn't we support everybody to use it? Why do we need to create a system where you have to be part of something to be properly supported? Isn't that actually making it even worse? And it's not really leveling up the playing field. And then if the regulation is good as well, because there's all this talk about a safe space to experiment. But again, if the regulation is well designed, there's no need for a space where this regulation is being weakened to facilitate innovation. So, yeah, that's kind of my views in terms of fundamental flows.
Thank you. Well, Meindert, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, horrible, huh? These sandboxes. Yeah. All this is you call it innovation, but why we're just helping only the small companies and some companies? We're not helping all the companies. Like, which organization do you want to help? That's, I think, is very. And you're even talking about that you will have maybe even your assessment can be done. The regulatory assessment will be done within the sandbox or freedom of the law. Like that sounds like no, horrible, right? And I think even we have a legal person here who will maybe say that some things you said there might not be true. Even I'm just hinting that because I have to. So if anybody has questions, talk to me afterwards. But no, horrible these things. Yeah.
Okay, Huub, what's your opinion on this? And also a question for you. Everybody does. They all say the AI Act is not clear to me. How to deal with this?
Well, first of all, the AI Act is still in negotiation. So the European Parliament, European Commission, and the member states are now discussing these days at this moment to finalize it. So I can understand it's not all clear because it's still in negotiation, even though the main structure is already set. So probably the end of this year it will be more stable and we can start explaining more about it. So I do think that will be an important thing. Second is, when it comes to regulatory sandboxes,
You don't want them.
if
Oh, sorry.
companies are not interested, great. If they don't need it, great. But it doesn't mean that companies that might benefit should still be facilitated by the government. So I do think if there is no need, because I think the law is quite clear, that's fine too. Do I think is the law clear? And there are a few crucial things that can not be clear. So in the main structure of the AI Act is quite clear. You have AI that we want to forbid on a European level, like mass surveillance by authorities, social crediting system, the things you don't want, that's forbidden. Great. Second thing is, if it's a high-risk system, it needs to be sure that it's safe before you put it on the market or you're going to use it. Great, that's really what I want. Thirdly, if people are interacting with an AI, like a chatbot, and from the context you don't know it's an AI you're communicating with, all it says that you need to be notified that you're interacting with an AI instead of a person. Great, that's not really a hassle, that's not a great burden for anybody. So the only burden could be in the high-risk area. When it comes to the high-risk area, there are a lot of things that you need to comply, standards, you need standards to translate the legislation into acting. And since that's still in the process of preparing and deciding on the regulation, that might be a phase that in the first few years people have to grow into. Because not all the answers are there, but at the same time you don't have to comply. It's probably in 26, 27 before you have to comply. So people all have time. So I can imagine in that period there will be questions, especially from small and medium-sized. Do we need to do something now already? What should we do? So helping them, I think, it's only good. It's a regulatory sandbox, so it's not a technical sandbox, just in case people misunderstood. And it's not really a legal sandbox, it's more governments helping small and medium-sized enterprise. Because there's one other issue that's really difficult. The AI goes through everything, is in everything in a minute. And there is already a lot of current laws, sectoral laws like medical device regulation, telecom, but also horizontal GDPR, the Digital Service Act, Digital Market Act. How are they all going to interact? That could be quite complex, and I can imagine that companies want some answers to that. And we don't have them yet, so give us some time as well.
I do feel the middle lane gets too much attention here, and it needs to be more collected. There's something in the
yeah, but she asked me to explain a bit about the AI.
Yeah, a little bit.
You want to fight with me, right?
Okay. Does anybody want to know any more about the AI?
The million-dollar question.
Yeah, there's a question.
I will first I will come to you, and then to you. The million-dollar question: when will the negotiations be finished? Is it this year?
I expect at the end of this year, the end of the Spanish presidency, the text will be finalized, and then in the first quarter of next year be formalized. And then there will be about 3 months before all the competent authorities in the member states will have to be appointed. So we know what to do. We know by the end of this year, and who's going to supervise. We know in about 9 months.
Yeah,
Regarding the sandboxes, there is not that much discussion about it. So it seems that the current text that we have seems already quite stable.
Okay.
So we know what we're asking for Christmas.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, I would like to thank you, and I will open the floor for questions from the audience. Thank you. Please introduce yourself, and you can ask your question.
Hello, I'm Renna van Rijssen, also from Breda University of Applied Sciences. I hear a lot of talking, also for the sandboxes, about companies. What about non-profit organizations like education, for instance? Because we will have to deal with it as well.
I will take that one. So as you said, we're currently really starting the pilot phase, and even the scoping is still part of that. We have the process now in place. It will probably, most likely, don't tell anybody, but it will probably be like a more open system where anybody can just start with a simple question, and if it becomes a more complex question, it will go into a longer case study. It's more like a funnel. I see no reason why there would be a limit on who can apply this
Anybody who is under the AI Act. So as soon as you deal with AI,
I disagree, but that's my role. But because sometimes, even whether you are or are not under the AI, it might be a relevant question. Right? But of course, Huub is also right, but can't give him too much right.
Thank you.
I have two questions. Sorry. So one was about. Oh, sorry, my introduction. Well, nice to meet you. My name is Lisa. I work at Microsoft. So I'm an AI specialist. So I'm curious about two things. One was about the high risk that you mentioned. So I'm curious on who defines what is high risk. Is it psychologists or social experts? So what is that? Yeah. And then the second one, also thinking that I work for a company that is based in the US, is the EU AI Act. So then who's responsible to follow it? Is it the companies using these algorithms, or is it the companies producing these algorithms?
Yeah, interesting question.
Good question.
My legal guy is hiding behind.
Wait, how about we give him like a
yeah, Amanda.
Let's check if he knows the answer.
You can do it from here? Or
is the legal?
Yeah, you're right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Which question?
Please first introduce yourself.
Question.
So it's still hard work for me. You should pay attention.
I am Max. I'm a colleague of Meindert and Huub. And which question do you want an answer to?
Both, of course.
Oh, both. Can you repeat the first question shortly, please? Yes. I think that's a matter of safety. It's all about the EU AI Act is about safety. So when, globally speaking, when a product isn't safe anymore to use, then we talk about high risk. So, for example, if you're driving a car and the car wants you to drive off a cliff, that's not safe. So that's a high risk because it's a risk for your health. So
but it's determined within two. So this is within a certain scope, and the scope is Annex 2 and Annex 3. So Annex 2 is.
So he's talking about annexes within the AI Act.
Yeah.
So
when is it high risk? What's the scope of high risk? It's Annex. It's first one is Annex 2. That's current product safety regulation, like the medical device regulation. And for example, elevators and some.
You know when you're in that group.
Yeah, because that's.
Yeah.
So they're already under the medical.
Already under surveillance and that, not surveillance, supervision.
Yeah. So they know they are under supervision, and there's only the AI system. If you put it in, there's something extra you need to do, but it's largely filled with conformity assessments, notified bodies. So you're in an ecosystem that you understand. Yeah. And then you have the Annex 3, and that's a more difficult area because that says if it's risk.
Yeah.
And then they define the number of areas. So,
for instance, digital infrastructure.
Critical infrastructure, law enforcement, education. So a lot of sectors where you especially can expect major impact, like influencing how do you call it, elections or discrimination of things like that. So you
like making a choice whether you will be hired or not.
Yeah.
They're quite clear why you would have extra supervision on those areas for an AI. Well, these are not that it's not allowed. These are high risk. So it means that, the one you just mentioned. But let me first finish the previous sentence. Is that if you're high risk, that I think the thing you wanted to say is you do a self-assessment. So you don't directly go into that regulatory system, what for Annex 2, where you already know that you're in it, but in Annex 3 you do a sort of self-assessment. It's slightly easier. It also includes a lot of things that you should be doing anyway, like doing a risk assessment, monitoring your things, having data, cybersecurity. These are basic things that you should be doing anyway. So in that way, you shouldn't be too scared for that part.
Before, I didn't forget your second question. I will ask it to Jeanette. But first, do you expect to be in the high risk classification or?
Depends on the application, of course. But when it comes to autonomous, everything. So when it comes to
you will be in the high risk.
Anyway.
There is a lot of work going on. It's a huge organization, 100,000 employees. So legal, compliance, cybersecurity, we're all collaborating, especially now with generative AI, because we feel that we've been outpaced a little bit. So there are discussions, but it's still up to each and every company, in our case, specifically to set our own guidelines and be prepared for what's coming. Can I just keep the microphone to also say something that I've been thinking about here? Since we also had Microsoft in the room, one thing that I've been thinking a little bit about is the blog post by the chief legal officer from Microsoft concerning generative AI, that the IP aspects of using generative AI output will be covered by Microsoft. That's from the chief legal officer. It's on a very high level, but that basically gives the green light to a lot of companies to go ahead and use the technology, use the service, which is awesome, of course. But it also means that it makes it very difficult for the people who have to think about the safety regulations and so on and so forth to potentially shut down a lot of services down the line, because maybe people just used it, IP was covered by Microsoft, they implemented it. Then you have this thing where the needle has been moved on what's okay and what's not, and we get into a situation where we're talking about competitive advantage of European companies versus other areas. I'm just thinking, and this is last sentence, I promise. The discrepancy between the legal aspects and technology has always been there. Now it's speeding up a little bit, it seems. And what kind of risk do we see in terms of losing, let's say, the legal high ground and adapting to what businesses are doing? I'm coming from a company myself, but I think it's a relevant topic to be discussed here.
I fully agree. First, is there someone who would like to answer this question or reflect, and then I will come back to Microsoft.
I like the word of
sorry.
The legal high ground. As far as I know, we never thought we had that. You're generally behind in supervision, but it doesn't mean that you have to be too far behind or that it's suddenly risky. We're always risk approach. So if you see something is risky, you will take that, but it doesn't mean that's why you have open standards, so that you have the freedom as a supervisor to pick and choose which are the most risky parts we need to act on, which are the parts we don't need to act on. But the legislation itself will by definition be behind. It's forward-looking, but behind.
I don't think we're behind so far, right? If you look at the blockchain space, it took us, the MiCA will be active next year, 2024.
In the context of AI here?
Exactly. I mean, so compared to other technologies, we managed first draft 2021, probably finished end of this year. So working 3 years plus the white paper. Yeah. But so I'm actually impressed.
Let's continue this fight.
I mean, if you look at 27 member states, right?
So in 2027, when the AI Act is in force, you think that the AI space has not moved forward?
I think it will move forward very, very fast. But also coming back to what you said, AI is not in a legal vacuum right now. Yeah. So if we look at what we have existing, we have pillars of trustworthy AI, we have pillars for data governance, we have sector regulation. So
the AI Act is actually not usul at all.
Oh, it's connecting everything, you know? It connects all the dots.
We're not waiting for this question either, apparently.
1 minute. Jeanette, could you also answer her second question?
Yes, so to the geographical scope, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of the AI Act is, of course, since it's a European legislation, to protect European citizens. So kind of like if you are a provider in Europe and you kind of like deploy your system here, you need to comply with the AI Act. But also if you're from outside of the European Union and want to deploy your systems in Europe, or kind of like there's a touch point to European citizens, you need to comply with the AI Act. So it goes both ways, very similar to the GDPR. But what is special about the AI Act, it's like a mirror, right? So it does not only put obligations on the provider of the system that kind of like designs it, but also on the user, right? It's the garbage in, garbage out kind of like method. If
Maybe user needs some explanation in here.
Yes. If you use a system in a way it's not intended to, obviously it will malfunction. So one of the obligations in this high risk area is that the provider provides guidance how to use the system.
Sorry, I meant a lot of people might think as a user, as an end user.
A consumer.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the
all
one...
your business-to-business clients are all users under the AI Act.
Yes.
They all have to do to check whether or not they're using it as high risk, and then they all need to do their assessment, and they all rely on your assessment probably.
Your personally.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure there, right? Your assessment, everyone's
and
deploying
remember, this is product regulation. Sometimes this is forgotten.
Okay. Yes, I have seen several questions. I will come back to you. But first, one other question. Will the AI Act have a global effect, a Brussels effect, or not? Yes, raise your hand. Yeah, a global effect. Yeah. Yes, I would like to invite you over there. And who thinks, no, this is not going to work? Raise your hand.
It will only stay within Europe, is the question.
Okay, then you have to sit over there.
Welcome.
Yes, you have a few minutes to think about it. Okay, please introduce yourself and why do you expect this will have a global effect, this AI Act?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Eugenio Andreose, I'm a data scientist, so I'm pretty technical, but still really interested in this low kind of topic. So basically, my answer will be simple enough, because then I guess Europe is like interacting with other macroeconomic power. So I guess this act will also involves the interaction of AI regulation and usage through all the work I know.
Jeanette, can you help him?
Of course, it's very nice to see it actually from a technical point of view also, that you think this AI Act will actually become a new standard and also maybe define the direction of global standards. And this is also what I think the AI Act will do, right? We will have similar spillover effects like with the GDPR. The GDPR was actually an export hit. Also to the US, for example, because they have the Californian Data Protection Act that is very similar to the GDPR. And thereby, for example, we spread values of privacy, of respecting personal data and so on and so forth. And I think the AI Act can have the similar effect of spreading the values of trustworthy AI that are mirrored in the obligations of the AI Act, you know, for safety of the product to the world. And I think this is actually something, yes, putting Europe at the forefront of also defining where this technology goes, right? Because it's something is in the market, it's developing so fast, as we heard, even faster than the regulators and the regulation. And we do not want this development to get out of control. And we also want to, yes, have a united market, the better, kind of like the bigger the better. And there already works collaborating with our partners, right? So not only in Europe, but also working with harmonized standards, standards with the US. So kind of like that you can translate these standards working with the other global partners.
Can you introduce yourself and why do you disagree with Jeanette?
Yeah, mostly with Jeanette, yes.
Well, my name is Sondre. I'm from EY in Norway. And the reason why I so dearly disagree with you is that, well,
right?
It's obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's intended to protect European citizens, right? So it might, maybe we could argue, you could steelman an argument where it impacts the big vendors that provides services like upstream from the European citizens. But still, I think that only affects the big vendors and companies in other parts of the world, like smaller companies serving their markets, will not have the incentive to be to comply with this, since it's a legislation, right? It puts boundaries on their practice. Yeah,
I think you're being very nice to the other side of
He's very polite, but I think you will deep dive into this, right?
It's a good thing to have, but no, of course not. This tiny market, this tiny European market, we of course, like in the past, the big Europe can do whatever we want and we can export our laws. It's not true anymore.
Well, Huub,
yesterday... I want to add one sentence. Yeah, I know I'm constantly being cut off on this negative side. I don't know why. All the technology is currently in America. It's moving now to China. Even the Middle East is doing... Around us, it's so much technology about the generative AI. We're doing nothing, and we're trying to put some laws on it, even though we're not the owners of the technology. Do you think they're really going to listen? No way. And then are we going to deny all this technology in Europe, all this great new innovative technology, because we can't fit that in our little laws? Okay, that's all.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Huub, what's your opinion on this? And also, I would like to know, yesterday we had a meeting with the Minister of AI from the UK. They also have another perspective on this. Can you talk a bit about this conversation? But first of all, about,
let me start by saying, so yesterday, UK Minister for AI, Minister Camrose, was here. Because they want to be on the forefront of AI and doing their global summit on AI safety. And he said, we're having a very thin legislation on AI, saying it's good for companies. And then I said, when I talk to authorities that are going to certify the use of AI, I said, what they tell me is that they are saying to the companies, if you want to use your AI in the UK, we can certify you. If you also want to use it in the EU, you need to be certified again. So if you want a certification, ask for the European certification, because then you can handle in both areas.
So UK I can understand. It's like past Europe, but global. We're talking global. Good.
That's my always intervening when I'm saying something positive.
It's a strange thing, right?
So of course, Europe has to be careful, because we don't have a strong industry, that you don't go on a moral high ground. At the same time, what you want to protect your citizens from are the things you really want your citizens to be protected against. We don't want social crediting for all the people in Europe. We don't want mass surveillance by governments on the citizens. I see you're nodding yes. He tries. So you can say it's you can look at it from an economic perspective, but as a person, it's what you want.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I would like to thank you. You can take your seats. I will. Yes, thank you so much. I will open the floor again for some questions.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm going to be a little bit controversial following Mindart. My name, by the way, is José Manuel Mateu. I'm Spanish. By the way, don't trust that the Spanish presidency will end. The document with all the mess we have in Spain on the politics side.
You're doing a good job at the moment.
So sorry for being a little bit controversial. I've lived...
There's a seat here open for you. If you
in the last 12 years, I lived 6 years in the US, 5 years in China, in Shanghai. And honestly speaking, these guys in China and the US are not regulating, and not even considering regulating, except some really exceptions, and afterwards, not before, but after. So do you think that this obsession by the European Union to regulate everything, even before it happened, is again putting Europe as an irrelevant area against China and the US?
No.
So true.
No. I cannot agree because actually China has already regulated generative AI with a bill on the use and how this is developed and deployed in 2017. So actually 2017, and they're working on another regulation, so kind of like up-regulating actually that space, of course with their approach, with their values, which we know that are different from ours, right? But still, they are regulating, and they're even faster as us when regulating because we need to do the process with the 27 member states, commission, trilogue. They go and say, okay, we do this, we regulate this like that, finished. So yes, we are not only regulating Europe, but also China has already regulated, and the US is thinking about regulation. They had all their big, nice companies come in, and everyone voted for regulation. And they
so Argentina, Brazil,
Yes.
Singapore. So a lot of member states
Yes.
or a lot of countries are implementing similar regulation.
fully agree. So I think we're on the right path here.
Okay, I have one
Sorry.
comment. One comment. Why is Europe interesting? Because we have 500 million customers.
Tiny, right?
And they pay. Yes, so that makes us interesting. That makes us interesting for the outside world to abide to our rules. That's one. The second is, what I haven't heard during the past 2 days here is what have we learned from implementing the GDPR, the lessons learned, and how can we use them in implementing the AI Act? And I think there is a lot to be learned. Just take the Article 5 of the GDPR with the foundational principles. They apply, most of them, and I think implementing it within organizations on a plan, do, check, act based kind of approach is the way to go.
Thank you. I didn't hear a question,
maybe just-
but you can.
You just wanted to sit there, or
you see also between competent authorities. So it's not really the law, but it's how are you going to supervise it? And the problem with the GDPR, especially in the Netherlands, that was very legalistic.
Legalistic.
And what?
Legalistic, yeah.
From a very legal point and not from a risk-based point of view. And what we're really wanting to do, and that it says explicitly in the AI Act, is risk-based. So then your plan, do, check, act is a very good way to work with, and that's fine for a competent authority.
Yeah. We do have 10 minutes, so we're going to speed up a bit. No, I'm the moderator.
I still.
It's time for your question.
Okay, thank you. My name is still Sondre. I have a question regarding the requirements for formal assessments. So also regarding your question earlier today, for instance, for startups in the education sector applying AI, they would probably have to adhere to this, right? So with the GDPR as well as the EU AI Act, there's a lot of overhead for these companies compared to companies in the US, for instance. How do you see that this could slow down development and innovation in Europe compared to other places in the world? And what is the requirement for formal assessments?
Thank you. Yeah. Who would like to answer this one?
I would want to say, like, why didn't you just say it when you were sitting here?
No, well, I think it's risk-based approach. So if you're not high risk, it's not an issue. If you're a high risk category, but your AI, you're just starting, it's not very risky. You hardly have any customers, so it's low risk.
Oh, maybe he has customers.
No, so if you look at it from a risk-based point of view, and also especially in a lot of startups, it's most engineers and technical people than legal people. That's why you need the sandboxes to help you in that respect. You start, and there's some basic things in the AI Act that you need to comply with. So use the self-assessment as a kind of tool to look at which issues do I need to tackle while developing the AI, and just go. Don't limit yourself too much to it. You don't have to. So just go forward and use it as a tool and not as a burden.
The requirements are really not that different from what you should be doing anyway.
Okay.
Like,
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's documenting what are my risks and how am I mitigating this. This should be done, right? If you're a really risky product, that's not that strange. You have been holding your hand up quite long.
Hi, I'm Yanis. I work for Code for Thought, a startup which is in the area of trustworthy AI. The question I have is that, a note that I'm taking is that we talk about the regulation a lot and not about the value that the companies will get as the startups. I mean, the thing, and I agree with you, all the basic things that the EU AI Act prescribes, you need to do them anyway. Because if your system is not good, at the end of the day you will be in the news because you created some risks or your product is not going to be good. And I think that this is missing from the discussion.
I think
the tangible benefits
is that part, right?
But thank you bringing this up. I mean, you're against sandboxes,
no, not
right?
now. No.
No.
that rules is past.
You want to
no, but I mean,
we can change.
The sandboxes is literally underneath the chapter is called innovation. It's the help to innovation. We all know the AI will innovate and will help us. So we're definitely not trying to block. The only sentence I want to add was, we're not regulating everything. I mean, all AI might be there, but it doesn't mean that suddenly they all have rules. A lot of non-high risk AI can just do their thing.
Yeah.
And coming back to the point you made from the investment side, right? That's something that I say quite often when I champion the AI Act, but I know there are people that hate the AI Act. But what I say to them, that it's also kind of like an investment decision to invest in trustworthy AI. And in particular now where we're in between the kind of like period when we are going to have the AI Act, companies that are already applying the principles of trustworthy AI that are here, that know their status under the AI Act, so they can demonstrate they did their homework and they know where they are in this risk pyramid. Probably not prohibited AI, but if they are somewhere in between, demonstrate they are aware of this, they are preparing for this.
Prohibited AI, stop.
Yes. Yeah. But
is there anyone else with a question? Yes.
Valuation goes up.
Hi.
Yeah. Take the floor.
My name is Kira. I work at Here Technologies, which is a map and location intelligence solutions for automotive. I guess whenever it's a software development company, we develop a product and we have a go-to-market strategy designed, we have some measures that we can further evaluate whether it's a success or it's a failure. So do you have some success measurement system for this act that you're gonna like retrospectively and was it done for GDPR as well? That in 2 or 3 years you can evaluate and say whether this act is a success or a failure, or are we going in the right direction now?
Thank you.
Yeah, shall I answer?
He does.
Please.
No, well, the answer is no. So as
okay, done. Thank you.
So it's not
thank
the
you.
regulator. So it's not the regulator who has the instruments to evaluate. So you, as a supplier or creator of the generative AI, you need to make sure you're compliant with the legislation. And if you need guidance, assistance, or you want checks or certification, there's a whole industry, an ecosystem, hopefully developing that can help you with it. The only thing as a competent authority, we're going to check, can you show us how you are compliant with the AI Act? But we're not the ones that are going to determine or to force you how to do it. No. Okay.
I think there is a mechanism in there, right? Kind of like there will be some monitoring. Maybe they will define new high-risk use cases. Maybe they will come to the conclusion that some high-risk use cases are not high risk. So there is a period where this is monitored from the regulatory level. Also, I think they're going to do incident monitoring, right? To see where the risk in the market is going, where we have incidents. And based on that, I think they're going to see where you need to adjust this legislation. And if it is going to be a success, we will see actually globally, or maybe when we develop the first European champions and also kind of like export out technology, but also when we see that our standards are adhered to globally, or we can build global collaboration so that we export actually this AI Act.
But it's so that's.
Now, okay, I have a final question for the audience. Of course, a lot is still unclear about this AI Act, but the discussion about generative AI is the most unclear part at this moment. So my question to you is, should we regulate generative AI in general, so the model itself, or should we only regulate the applications built on top of it or making use of it? So raise your hand if you think the generative AI should be regulated by itself. Okay, and raise your hand if you think only the applications. Okay, the guy at, yes, you, come. Yeah, you join me again.
The other one, she raised her hand as well. So
You raised her. Oh, yeah, come. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
What did you say?
Like generative AI.
Okay, that's nice.
Let's start with you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh, and please, also Jeanette, Huub, Meindert, please talk a bit about in your answer about the discussion, what's going on, what are the hurdles, what has to be solved before the end of this year.
Yeah, hi, I'm Benjamin. Also from Norway, actually. Nice to meet you. Working for a small startup, Norwegian startup, and data scientist. So the reason why I think regulation should happen at the end, basically, because I'm pretty much seeing it from a product perspective as a data scientist. Training a model is hard, costs a lot of money, it's not good for the climate. So it's always easier to basically have regulations or policy layers at the very end of a pipeline. It's just way easier and more flexible because you can change the policy tomorrow and you can just change your layer at the end tomorrow as well. You don't have to retrain.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Yes, so...
And what are the discussions within the European AI Forum on this topic?
So maybe to give you an idea, what is kind of like what the Parliament proposed, what was the latest kind of like proposal is just to regulate foundation models, so-called, so a regulation for foundation models, and then additional regulations on top for foundational models that can kind of like produce output, so kind of like generative AI. And why I think you are right that we need the regulation at the end of the kind of like AI value and production chain is, of course, at the beginning of the foundation model, you do not know which use case or who is going to put this to what use, right? So if you start regulating there, as a producer of this model, you would have to think about every imaginable possible use case for this model, from education to medical devices, from financial industry to, I don't know, critical infrastructure. You are never going to solve that challenge. This is impossible. And that's why this is a burden for the companies developing this, because you cannot manage. It's just not manageable. So yeah, that's why I think at the end, because then you have the specific application, you can do what is needed and you can be compliant very easily.
Yeah. So my thought was that it would be good to have regulations as early in the process as possible, because there are some things that can very obviously go wrong. So if we think about how you explained the annexes, there are some things that should just not happen. So a model should not be biased, or a model should not discriminate against specific races or diversity groups. So that is the easy regulation that you can put and everyone agrees with and should be there. And we also saw examples of models who went public, went completely wrong, talking about also things that we saw were not correct. And that's also something we could change, but it would have been even better if we have changed that from the beginning.
Thank you. Meindert, do you have something to add?
The totally irresponsible people on the other side. Like, oh no, I'll make my model and then I put it on the market, and if it is accidentally doesn't do the right thing, then okay, maybe we regulate it in the end because it's better for the environment. I almost think like, should I say more?
Oh no, thank you. Well, Huub, what is the current state of the discussion on this, and what is your opinion on it?
Well, actually, it's both. When it comes to the end use, it's just if it's under the end usage of the AI is under the high risk. It just has to comply with the high risk. At the same time, we expect a lot of different AIs built on top of generative AI. So you need to do something else for the layer underneath. And already at this moment, a lot of those companies providing generative AI, like Microsoft, they're all doing a lot of alignment and security and things. So the demands will be a bit different, but you can't expect all the SMEs that want to build something on top of it to negotiate with the large language models, the big tech.
Microsoft.
With the Microsoft to say, we expect these applications. So you help the ecosystem, you help the small companies if there's something special for foundation models. And I do think that the requirements should be a bit different. At the same time, the AI Act discussion started without the generative AI, and now they're trying to put a bit in it, but we're already thinking of, as soon as the AI Act is finished, just like the Energy Directive, we started immediately discussing the new version. Yeah. So I do think that when it comes to generative AI, there will be something in it now already, but in the next 1 or 2, 3 years in Europe, we need to discuss on the next version in which we put foundational models, and who knows what else new will arise.
He slipped in an answer to the lady there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Well, I started with you. So you will also get the final word.
Thank you.
Final word.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely enjoyed it.
You like sitting here?
You got me there. We didn't rehearse this part. No, I
the moderation.
Yeah, I maybe I can stand up. I hope this is not being recorded. But I think it's been a great session, and I mean, thinking about the profiles and the questions that we've had. I myself work with data science. I mostly do PowerPoints nowadays, but we have both the technical and the legal end, and I think having this dialogue is super important. Getting to know some people, some questions, building some connections, really good. I have to admit one thing though, leaving this room, I have a good feeling that this was a great hour, a lot of fun, but have I learned anything specifically that I can apply tomorrow? Probably not. And this shows again that there is a lot of work to be done and that this conversation needs to go on. So nothing on the panelists and the questions, but this is a field that needs collaboration from both ends for us to get somewhere. And I'm all for European technology and European legislation. So on that end, I don't know which end it will be because it's so all for that. And I think you've done a great job moderating. So
compliments.
Let's give it up.
Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you all.